order. The records show that all aldermen are present except for Alderman Papania is absent this evening. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Impey. Second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Dr. Barnett's going to lead us in the invocation. Alderman Cox, will you lead us in prayer? I mean, in the pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father, it's a great day, and we're very thankful for the beautiful time of year here in Ocean Springs. I pray for every decision the aldermen make tonight that will be for the betterment of the city. And I thank you for their service, the service of our city employees and our chiefs. Lord, all that goes into making our city beautiful and successful and a great place to live, Lord, is right here, and we're grateful for it. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some presentations this evening. South Mississippi Planning Development District was in the office a few weeks ago, and they have an economic development program that they work, and I asked them to come and present it. No action to be taken tonight, just see what they've got to say, and if it's something that y'all are interested in, we probably should have a workshop on it. If so, if not, no harm, no foul. So Miss Allison Hawkins is here, and she's going to go through the program, and they've had it work in other towns.
How are you?
I think it is.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Very good. Yes, thank you, Mayor. As he said, I am Allison Hawkins. I'm the Economic and Workforce Development Director at Southern Mississippi Planning and Development District. I've been there about 20 years next month. It's been a while since I've been to Ocean Springs City Council meeting, though, so I'm glad to be back, thankfully. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Carolyn, for the invite. Today, I just wanted to briefly tell you about a program that we came up with the concept really about 5 or 6 years ago, and are just starting to kind of talk about it and use it more often. We've used it in Biloxi, we've used it in Goshen, and we're using it in Hattiesburg. But we call it a Commercial Redevelopment and Revitalization Program. Basically what it is a way to give incentives or a reimbursement through a grant to a developer who may come in and redevelop vacant buildings or blighted properties. Now, I know you don't have a lot of that here in this part of Ocean Springs, but there are definitely some places all along our coast, all along our district, where we could use some incentives for redevelopment of those buildings. Basically, the way it works is we take the sales tax that is generated by the new redevelopment, and anything the over and above increase from what it was, and usually it was zero because it's empty, then the city can negotiate with the developer and with us through a tri-party agreement a reimbursable grant that actually runs through S&PDD. We can go ahead. And you may be wondering, well, how does that work? The city can't give a private developer funding. Well, according to Mississippi Code, actually through 1719-1, we are able to accept funds from a city or a county or any jurisdiction within our district and use it for not whatever purposes you want to, but legal practices, and that would include grant funding. We actually were a little iffy about this when we first came up with the program. So we got an Attorney General's opinion back in April of 2015. And in fact, at that time, it was Attorney General Hood, but he did say that it was okay for us to do this program, and we have that documentation. So basically how it works is the developer would express an interest in a city property, not a city property, a property in your city. It would be a private property that they might want to develop. The city would then come to SMPDD. We have an application, and we can customize that to however you want it. And then the city would have to approve each project as they come along. So what I would suggest is that if you're interested in this program, that at some point maybe you would customize it to however you want to do it. And then I'll kind of show you that in a minute and make more sense. But we have a tri-party agreement that would then be approved by the developer and the city and SMPDD. So then the development would happen, the construction would happen, the revitalization would happen, and then once construction is complete, the developer would come to SMPDD with their certificate of occupancy, and we would verify the project cost at that point, so we know exactly how much would be reimbursable to them. Again, that all is dependent on what you want to do. You can say that you want to give them 50% back, you can give them 20% back, you can give them 10% back. It doesn't matter to us. You want it to be set where it's worth their while and where it truly is an incentive for redevelopment. And then each calendar year, we, at the end of the year's occupancy, we verify sales tax of their tenants or of the developer, and then calculate what the actual money back is at that point. So basically, just a little graphic of the way it works is that you have sales tax, which of course 7%, then the 18.5% that goes back to the city, which I know isn't necessarily a lot, but for some of these projects it can be kind of impactful. And then you have the agreed upon percentage, and then the reimbursement grant minus a 10% admin, which is not a lot, and then back to the private developer. And we do that at year's end with actual cost. I'll show you a real quick example. So let's say you have a property that is available listed at $899,000. The developer's going to spend $601,000 on it. So their total project cost, acquisition, and redevelopment would be $1.5 million. Let's say Ocean Springs decided they wanted to help this developer and give a rebate of 35% of that 18.5% that you get back. So that means you'd be keeping the other percentage, 65%. Okay, so we generally, what we have done is capped it at a third of the redevelopment cost. Otherwise, it just goes on for way too long. And honestly, if it's going to go on that long and be that big, then you'd probably be better off doing a TIF. And if you know a little bit about TIF, then this is kind of similar. It's like a mini TIF. So the developer has 15 years to reach the $500,000 reimbursement grant cap. And again, with the 35% split, we'll show in the next page exactly what that would be. So the tenant's annual gross sales, let's just say they're about 7.3 million. The state sales tax 7%. Then you've got the city sales tax portion, the 18.5% that goes back to the city of Ocean Springs. And then the reimbursement grant itself at 35% would be $33,000. So roughly, that's what it would be. But again, we work on actuals at the end of the year. We don't have to go through another one. We can go on. That's kind of a lot to throw at you at one time, and it's a lot of numbers. So we do have the handout that Natalia gave you. And Natalia has recently joined our team at SMPDD, by the way, Ocean Springs resident. And we're happy to have her. But I can answer any questions tonight. I can answer them later. You can kind of digest it and then call me if you want to. I will tell you, one city where we like how it is set up is in Hattiesburg. What they decided to do is they kind of looked at different areas of town that some needed more development and help than others. And to encourage that, they have an area where they do 30%, an area where they do 40%, an area where they do 50%. So that's kind of up to you. I'm happy to come back sometime, maybe do a workshop where we could talk about it in more detail. I have sample applications, all those kinds of things, but it's a little deep to get into at a city council.
Does this have to be a blighted and vacant building to qualify for this grant?
You know, I mean, those are some things that I guess the city could determine too, it doesn't have to be blighted by the, like, urban renewal term blighted. You could, it could be just an empty building, an empty big box. Honestly, that was how we first came up with it, it was a big box project that we were hoping it didn't come to fruition, but it was a big box project in Biloxi, actually, that kind of brought this concept about.
Questions? I guess the theory behind this is taking a piece of property that has zero sales tax.
That's right.
And put it into the market where it's creating sales tax. I don't think you would have a property that's generating sales tax and then do this to increase the sales tax. But it's just taking a piece of property that's not generating anything. Like I say, it's different parameters for different properties and parts of town that need it. And, just making a positive out of nothing.
That's right. Yeah, you're going from zero to whatever it is, whatever percentage it is. So, and that's all it is a way for the cities to incentivize it.
Vacant buildings, basically.
Anything that's not producing.
And y'all have the cap here as a third of the redevelopment cost, but the cities can cap that at whatever they want, or is that?
You could. We generally put a third in because we had to kind of have some rules, but it's not that it couldn't be changed. That was the way we had presented it to the Attorney General, but I would not think that you'd want to go really more than that because it just would take too long to generate that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So quick question, so just, it does have to be an actual building, it can't just be an empty lot?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess there's some wiggle room there. This hasn't happened, but we have had a city discuss some infill where is in a downtown where they're, they wanted to put something in between two buildings, but they were going to build a structure. But we wouldn't want to go do a green field, out on the highway or anything. I think that kind of is not the intent of the program.
And in addition to creating a sales tax, it also creates an incentive for a developer.
That's right. And you can
That would
combine
primarily
it
look
with,
at that property.
right, exactly. And you could combine it with other incentives that you may have. I mean, I don't know, in their commercial tax abatement of some sort that you might want to do. I'm not really sure. And we don't get into, y'all probably have do y'all have a special sales of food and beverage, or I think you do. So we don't get into that either. We just do the straight sales tax. So I don't think you'd want to do that either. Actually, your legislation probably would not allow you to do that.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Next presentation is by the Chamber on Peter Anderson Festival update. Ms. Cynthia Sutton is here to give us a report.
Oh, where'd you go? Yeah. She can talk to the rest thing. I can talk pretty loud.
I'm not sure that helps much, but I can try. You're live.
Yeah, you're live.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You got it.
Quad.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Cynthia Sutton, Executive Director of the Ocean Springs Chamber of Commerce Main Street Tourism Bureau. I'm here to give you an update on, as what we call it, festival season. We're in full festival season mode here in Ocean Springs. You know, we just came off of a very successful Cruise on the Coast event. Thank you guys for being a part of that. So I want to tell you about a couple more events, but first I want to introduce you guys to my team. Some of you guys have worked with them on some of these events already and some haven't. We have Sharon here, Morgan here, and Kelsey. And of course, you guys know Chick Cody. And I also have one of my board of directors here, Dr. Bill Moore, over there on the other side. So that is some of our team that helps put on all these events and activities in Ocean Springs. Thank you guys. Our job, of course, is to help create events and activities that generate revenue to our business community. Of course, you know, together we put on about 13 events throughout town. Of course, we do two types of events, of course. There's revenue-generating events and those that create a quality of life for the community that doesn't necessarily generate revenue to our community. But we do have both of those events that we do put on. Coming up, we want to tell you our next big event that we have is the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival. It is presented by Blue Moon. Blue Moon literally does a kickoff event leading up to the Peter Anderson Festival. It's a really cool partnership that we have with them. They brought to us a Blue Moon art project contest that actually started in 2012 in San Antonio, Texas, as a solution to a graffiti art problem. We in Ocean Springs still continue that art project, which is a statewide art project, on to this day. And this event that they do, usually about 2 weeks before Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival, is a way to work with their local restaurants. And what they do is they, of course, unveil the Blue Moon Art Project winning art piece at our kickoff event. I'll tell you about that in just a second. At our kickoff event. But what it also does is literally Blue Moon, our local distributor, FEB Distributing, literally works with all of our local restaurants, not only in Ocean Springs, but a little bit beyond Ocean Springs. And during this time, from tomorrow through the Peter Anderson Festival, if you order a Blue Moon at any of our local restaurants, you're going to get it served in a really cool cup that has artwork, which is the winning art project piece. So that's just one little cool way that Blue Moon works with their team, works with our community. But as for that, they bring us the statewide project as the presenting company of our Peter Anderson Festival, and they actually work with us, and we put on something called the Blue Moon Kickoff event. That is actually tomorrow night, October 20th. It's going to be at the Jackson Pearl, located at 624 Jackson. If you guys have never been to the Jackson Pearl, it is a really amazing venue. You have to check it out. It's really eclectic. It's really cool. We'll be using the whole entire venue if it doesn't rain inside and outside. So you guys will want to be a part of that. It's going to be from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Again, like I said, at the Jackson Pearl. We are selling tickets. Proceeds for the tickets, for the raffle and things like that, literally are going to go to fund some art projects in the Ocean Springs community next year. So we still have tickets available. You can go online to the Chamber's Facebook page, Chamber website, or stop by the Chamber and purchase tickets. But it's a really cool event. I just want to tell you, I hope you guys will come out to the event. In Ocean Springs, we try to make sure we kind of try to find creative ways to talk about the arts. So at this event, if it doesn't rain, we're going to have those who attend actually get to pop balloons filled with paint and help us create an art canvas on their way in. You're going to be able to see live art, abstract art paintings during the event. We're going to have it posted on walls. They're going to paint and things like that. We're actually going to raffle off some painted jackets, vests. Some artists have actually painted pieces of clothing, shoes, things like that. Kind of go with our graffiti art vibe. It's a really, really cool event. I mean, some people may say the most important part is that it is a beer tasting, so there will be beer, food, live music, and just some interactive art. We're actually going to have a muralist literally painting on their garage door, a graffiti art kind of style painting. So we're going to have a lot of interactive art events, art activities at that event. It's actually one of the coolest events we've actually ever done. So it's going to be really neat and really different. But that is tomorrow, October 20th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the Jackson Pearl. So I hope you guys will come to that. And I just kind of wanted to make sure you guys kind of heard our partnership with Blue Moon and FEB Distributing, because they literally go beyond Ocean Springs, and they actually have some really cool projects that they are going to be doing with us in the future as well. So, of course, that leads up to, of course, the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival. We are in the 43rd year. That will be held on November 6th and 7th in downtown Ocean Springs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. I want to just give you guys, basically the reason why I wanted to tell you this, I just want to give you guys the update on the Peter Anderson Festival. We're still coming off of a COVID year, so we used to traditionally have, it got up to 450 vendor booths. Last year we went down to about 225. We're going to go up to 300 booths this year. We're going to keep them spaced out about 6 feet apart, kind of try to just kind of space them out as much as we can to kind of stay safe as much as everybody can. We're literally not going to have our food court area again that we used to have off of DeSoto, because a lot of people kind of gather at that area. So we're going to have a little mini food court in Miners Parking Lot and food pocketed in a couple other places on a couple different streets in downtown. And then, of course, we'll also have music, but the music won't be in that area either. We're going to space those out. I just kind of wanted to mention those because it kind of like takes it back a little bit closer to its origin of the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival, makes it more authentic, and we'll just have music on different street corners and things like that and kind of make it really fun. We will also do the usual, just kind of like cruising. We'll have hand sanitizers out, we'll have signage out for people to be safe and things like that, just to try to be do the best that we can, even though it is an outdoor festival. We will, of course, take the usual all of downtown area for the venue. And we have a whole lot of other little things. If you guys haven't seen the festival guide, know everything about the festival, get to know everything about the festival, you can actually check it out in the October issue of South Mississippi Living, which those magazines go everywhere, including casinos. So that's kind of cool way to get the word out about Ocean Springs. And of course, we do have a website, peterandersonfestival.com, for those details. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on Peter Anderson, the Blue Moon Kickoff event, which is a really cool event that we've been literally working hard all day on to get that ready for tomorrow. And I want to thank you guys. I know a lot of you guys help us out with that festival, and we'll be there between 3 and 4 a.m. in the morning on November 6th to help us execute that event. So just giving you guys a little bit of update, and that's all I have. Unless you have any questions.
One thing, I know we will have the bus shuttle service.
Yes, we will have that back
to the
again.
event, but what about the golf cart shuttle service that they did last year? That really was a big hit.
Yes, we will. Thank you for that. Yes, we will have the shuttles back from Coast Transit Authority and the YMCA that drop off the Government Street and Porter Avenue entrances right out here. And we will also work with the downtown golf cart rentals again. They actually did golf cart shuttles. They took donations. So bring some cash, and you can literally go from the park and ride locations to the entrance on the golf cart. So we will be partnering with them. And no golf carts in the venue.
And they stayed very busy.
They did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? That's it. We hope to see you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board on any agenda item, this is the time to do so. You'll have 3 minutes. The maximum allotted time for this part of the agenda is 30 minutes. So if anybody would like to address the board on an agenda item, you may come forward, state your name, and address the board. Okay, new business. First item on the new business is an appeal of the zoning adjustment board decision 2933 Bienville Boulevard regarding wall signs in shopping center. Carol?
Yeah, what you have here essentially, and if you see in the memo it's described, but if you look also at the picture that's on the third page of the ZAB memo, that'll help you picture what they're asking for. This is for Ace Hardware, which, as you know, they kind of have a corner store, so that they have one facade that faces the highway and the other one that faces the interior of that parking lot. So the request was to have a 50-foot wall sign on the interior and then a series of 5 signs totaling 140 square feet on the side that faces the highway. The UDC, first of all, it does not specifically address buildings that have 2 facades, so it doesn't prohibit or allow it or specifically address it. So, but with that in mind, their request exceeds the square footage that would be allowed, even if you did allow the same amount of square footage on each side. So what ZAB did was approve the 50-foot sign on the interior, but not at the equivalent. They said they could put the up to 75 square foot, which is the maximum, on each facade, but not the 5 signs, because it does only allow for 1 sign per tenant. So I guess the ruling from ZAB is easiest to say. They said he could have 2 75 square foot signs, 1 on each facade, but he'd like to appeal that and go with his original request. And because he's appealing their recommendation is why it's coming to you, not under consent as it normally would. So that's what's for you to consider. And if there's any questions, or if he's here to kind of plead his case, but that, if you keep going down to the bottom of the third page of the memo, it does have a picture that kind of helps. I know the black and white, keep going all the way to the bottom of that page.
So they want to do the Paris Ace Hilton on one side, and then on the other side, the big green egg.
The series of 5 signs, yes.
Okay.
So a little bit further. Okay. So you see right that's peeking out on the bottom, that would be the side, the facing out to have the 5 signs. Right. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but it doesn't specifically deny it. It does allow it if you're on a corner of 2 streets. So that's what they kind of looked at. So we will see if that needs to be addressed specifically, but it didn't disallow it, so that was fine. It's really just the number of signs and then up to the maximum on each one.
So is your proposed motion in here, is that to ZAB or is that to us?
Well, it was to ZAB, and ZAB actually is kind of making one to you rather than giving them the exception that they asked for. They're saying what they've recommended for approval is the 2 signs of up to 75 square feet each. But the applicant wanted to go ahead and appeal that and have you consider their original request of one of 50 foot and then the 5 individual ones. Instead of the 2, right.
Which would have been approved.
Yes. And had he been okay with their recommendation of the 275, it would have just gone on there for you to uphold their recommendation.
Well, I think this has exposed something that we need to look at as far as a building that's got 2 facades that face a shopping center and a highway. So I don't see any issues with this moving forward. I think it looks good. I think it fits the development. I don't have an issue with it.
The main concern was, are you okay with 5 individual signs because that was the main thing, is the UDC calls for 1 sign per tenant. So
again, I think it's a unique situation.
Yeah, because this is the only one that has 2 facades.
the only one that we're aware of, yeah.
Yeah. And the need for the 5 different signs, is it, is it shared advertising type of situation?
That's, I don't know. It's,
I can speak on that.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
yeah, please.
I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Carlton Paris. I'm one of the owners of Ace Hardware, and so we actually acquired it in March 2020. It's been there for a long time, but the owners were ready to retire, and so we acquired that. We also own 3 other Ace Hardware. So what we're trying to promote here is basically Ace has aligned itself with what they call their best brands, and you're looking at some of those that basically just stand out for what we're trying to do. The reason why you need 5 signs is that we tried multiple different ways to be able to see it from the road. We worked with the company Modern Signs who'll be doing these signs for us. There's no visible way that they can attach these signs to where it would be visible to the road, where they would stand out from each other. If not, it would just look unpresentable. So that's why we're basically going for 5 signs and not 1, is that, again, if we're going to promote multiple brands and spend the money to be able to make the shopping center look better than what it already is, then it has to be multiple signs to be able to be viewed from the road. And so we tried multiple different ways. It's just not possible. Any smaller than that, and you still can't see it from the road. So what's currently there, like I said, was damaged by Hurricane Zeta. And so right now what we're trying to do is promote I guess the brands of what Ace Hardware carries and what we're known for. It's things that a lot of those are uniquely to us. And so it's just kind of what we're trying to do to make that shopping center, hopefully promote more business to that shopping center, which is beneficial to both of us, us and the city, but also maybe acquire some people that may want to enter into that shopping center, because there are a lot of vacant places within there. And so we're considered the minor tenant by square foot. That's how we're considered the minor tenant. Really, I guess we consider ourselves to be the staple of that shopping center. So we're trying to, again, acquire new business, but also new business to come into there beside us, which there is a lot of vacancies there.
You have stores in, is it Gulf Shores?
Yeah, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, and Alberta.
Do they have similar signs in Gulf Shores?
Yes, we do. Like, we have the Steel brand on our Gulf Shores building. We have Benjamin Moore attached to our Alberta building. It's just, again, a lot of different cities, a lot of different ways to go about it, but the best brands that you're seeing here are very, very common to every city to be on the building. A lot of them actually call themselves Ace Hardwares and have the Benjamin Moore sign beside it. We, like I said, these are what we consider, and Ace Hardware considers the best brands, but yes, it's very common for them to have that on there.
That many?
Yeah, that many. It just depends on the shopping center itself. But again, it's not, the reason why we chose that many is because, again, I see a lot of familiar faces, but any smaller, it kind of just doesn't, you can't even see it, and then also it just doesn't kind of fill out that space, and it looks, in my opinion, tacky if you go any smaller than that and then condense with that many signs. So again, 1 sign doesn't really do anything, because again, you kind of can barely see the Ace that was already there. And so that's why we're trying to do multiple signs. We're trying to fill up that space so it stands out from the, like, 2 people driving on the road.
I personally don't really have a problem with it. It's just, I know once we start one, we're gonna have it. I mean, we do have several buildings in the city that has the same scenario. I own one myself, that I could do the same thing on it. And, although I think it would, where it is, it would work, no doubt. It's just, I think we've got to weigh out the option whether, how many are we got to tell no, is gonna want to do the same thing.
Sure.
There's gonna be a line.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be a line.
Yeah, and I understand that. I guess that is what's just so weird about that shopping center. And again, how big that building is, and we're not allowed to build bigger signs or multiple signs to fill that out, because I guess that's where we're at. It's just such a big area that we're trying to cover, where it makes that shopping center look more presentable. Because right now, the signage for our shopping center especially just doesn't promote that A, it doesn't look like we're in business right now, and B, it looks like that shopping center is just doesn't look like they want any more tenants.
It's definitely gonna be attention getting, for sure. It's just like Audie was saying, though, you gotta think.
Sure, I understand the precedent of what you want,
setting a precedent.
but I think it sets a good precedent for what we're trying to do here, so.
In this particular situation.
Sure.
So it's just gonna have to be a case-by-case basis.
And what happens if you drop one of the deals, Green Egg, Weber?
We've had people, we've had, again, brands, again, with best brands that have dropped out before, then we add a new sign to replace it with a brand that we promote. But again, the ones that you're looking at now, besides Benjamin Moore, which is new to Ace, as far as being our main paint maker, all the rest of them have been aligned since almost their inception. So Green Egg, Weber, Traeger. But again, if something drops out, we won't be promoting anything that we do not carry. That's not, we would obviously.
Well, I mean, would it be the sign be there?
Would not.
If you switch to paint, for instance.
Oh, are you asking would we change the sign out?
Do you change the sign, or is it just that you pull it down, there's just a void.
Oh, no, we would put another sign back up. There would always be 5 signs with that same dimension that you're looking at. No, we would never, again, we're not trying to make we want the shopping center to look good. It is helpful to y'all and to us to attract other partners within that shopping center. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stand out and make that work.
I guess the concern, as you said, that ZAB had and that the staff had was the precedent, like you said, because people do ask and we have to tell them one per, and then the square footage, because the 5 combined is more than the 75 square foot that would be allowed. So that's the 2 elements that was involved in their motion. So the equivalent of 75 square feet on each side is one issue, but then also the multiple signs. So you have to really look at, that's the 2 exceptions that you'll have to find to be able to approve this.
What if we were to go with, instead of 5, 3?
Well, again, 3 would just, again, it would almost, I mean, in my opinion,
Well, no, they're bigger. Each one of them is
each one of them bigger. I mean, we
The
could.
equivalent of 75 square
Right.
feet, yeah, that's.
I mean, you could, but I still don't think that for in this case it fills out that area. Because again, most of the time, from my understanding of the rules, is that because we're not the major tenant, because of I assume that major tenants get bigger signs. Like I would appear that like the Goodwill is the major tenant in our shopping center. The only reason we're the minor tenant is because of our square foot size. But that's where I guess the precedent kind of I find there's just it's just a little fault with that because again we are a very large store with 2 sides to it. And so that's why we're so unique in this situation is that, again, 75 square foot, I mean, it doesn't do anything. Again, people from the road can't even see it. So that's where it's just a very unique situation, which is why I'm asking for, I guess, a little bit of leeway with how we're doing it because it's just, again, right now you can't even see the ace barely in that picture. So now you can see it fills out that space to where it's all centered and it grows, I guess, from what I'm saying, is that it just fills it out.
You only have 50 square feet on the front with the Paris Ace hardware.
Correct. I mean, we honestly would probably ask you to make that bigger, but we weren't pushing our buttons with everything.
Well, I was just thinking kind of what Jennifer was saying. What if we tried to get closer to the 75 on this side with the 5 and maybe move one of those signs to the front and then fill out your 75 feet on the front? Just kind of, just trying to.
Yeah, that's what we really did. It's not like that's why again why we came to y'all again, and we didn't just accept what ZAB did. Is that we tried multiple different ways. This is not the first picture. We tried to move it again. We tried to every way. It looks kind of like moving furniture and like pictures in the house. Again, if it's not centered, it doesn't fill out the wall doesn't look right. So this is the best solution. Again, if we're willing to invest the amount of money, these LED signs are not cheap by any means. So again, we're trying to invest into the city, into this building, and try to make this whole shopping center presentable. To make it worth our while to be able to invest into it, it needs to, again, I get what you're asking, is that could things be made? It just, we haven't found a way to make it work, and it just, that's why we keep coming back, trying to figure this out. It's the only way that we see, and again, I'm not an interior designer or exterior designer, but I have not found another way to make it work.
And it's 50 square feet for the Paris Ace hardware on the front.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, so that's 50. So you can only put another 25. So, the big green egg or the Traeger next to it. And then on the side facing in, well, you've got your.
Yeah, especially since that's the roads facing sign. Again, it's not so much, because again, when they're parking, they can come walk up and see the sign. But again, for it to be able to be visible from the road, again, that's what we asked from Modern Signs was how small can we make this? And we show them a distance, and they have their own set formula, how you can view it and all the same. This basically said, if you want this to be worth your while, this is what y'all need to do. So that's why we came up with those dimensions.
Jennifer, one thing that you misstated there, if you read the letter, ZAB approved them for one sign on each side of 75 square foot each.
Right.
75, not the
Each
total.
side, not a total.
Right. So the actual total, I guess, would be 150. 75 square foot sign on each facade. I think that was it.
And then again, also they were pointing to the fact that it's supposed to be only one side per tenant, so they had issue with multiple signs.
Right.
So.
And that was kind of why we did 50 square foot on one side. It was almost that we were almost requesting, hey, if we make the other sign smaller to side to try to basically take off 25 feet, could we add it to the other side? I mean, it's just such a weird scenario. But again, that's why we want to make that side bigger. I mean, we can try to do wiggle room, but that's kind of what, between talking with Zab and kind of coming to y'all, is just, that's kind of the best that we have to come with.
I'll be honest with you, these signs are actually in your fenced-in area, although you'll be able to see them from the road.
Correct.
I consider your store sign on the front.
And it is a weird scenario because it has two facades. And that's why it went to Zab, and that's why it's in front of you all. If it doesn't set the precedent of multiple signs, and I can say in a similar but different situation where we had a business that also wanted to have their main products on the sign, what they did is they put something, they had displays in the parking lot where they could put those signs that were not on the building. In this case, you've got the fenced-in area, you don't really have that very visible area, but it's a matter of the precedent of what goes on the facade, on the wall itself. This one's different because it does have two facades, but it still is the facade. So
The two facades I can use as justification
for the two signs, correct.
But the square footage is where it starts to go, hey.
That's
And the other tenants be like, wait a minute.
That's what.
That would be my concern.
Yeah, and other similar, shopping centers, and what is unique, and I guess that's the thing, is finding what's unique about this that doesn't set a precedent, if that is, the path that you would want to go. But that is the concern, is the number of signs, and then the total amount of square footage would be the combined, I guess 150, if you combine the two 75-foot signs.
I mean, I like it. I think it draws attention to the shopping center, much needed attention. It's just, again, I don't know, you guys.
The precedent.
We'll be back at the drawing board with the sign order.
Well, this is one of those situations that in 99 cases out of 100, it's clear cut and doesn't have an issue. This one's a little bit different, but that is our concern, the staff concern that was expressed to Zab and that they expressed, is the precedent of the number of signs. Not so much having two signs, because this is kind of different, but the total square footage between the two signs and having multiple signs separated from each other, not as a single sign.
Go ahead.
Okay, so kind of going back and forth with the same statements here. Does anybody want to make a motion one way or the other on this, or do we want to act on it?
I'll go out on them and make a motion that we approve the request as it's presented.
Okay, Mr. Blackman has made a motion to approve the request of the
Appeal for the Zab.
I'll second it.
appeal, Zab, and Alderman Cox has seconded the appeal. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes 3-2.
Four.
Yeah, 4-2, sorry. So with the yay vote from Alderman Altamont, Alderman Wade, Alderman Cox, and Alderman Blackman, and a nay vote from Alderman Burgess and Alderman Impey.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item GB.
Pull item GB under Human Resources Risk Management.
Like to pull item C, 6C.
And item 6C,
Yes.
special permit for when? Okay, need a
Mr.
motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items 6C and GB.
Okay.
So,
Motion by Mr. Hickey, a second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
6C, this needs to be pulled for the next agenda, as it has not been met on by department heads and police department.
okay, so that'll be tabled.
Yeah, it'll be tabled for the next agenda.
Okay. Alderman Cox, how you want to handle GB?
GB, I just want to express I want to say how I am very thankful for the work that y'all have put in for this hire. I think after reading Ms. Sarah Harris's resume, she is very qualified for the position, and I'm pretty positive we will be very proud of the work she'll bring to the table. I do just want to make note that this position, to me, is almost equal to a department head, and I think we need to respect it as such. And I would like for all aldermen to be involved in anything moving forward in this hire. That's all I got. I'd like to approve item G.
Have a motion by Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Aldermen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is city clerk. Claims docket, a motion.
Make a motion to approve the doctor's claims, finding that all expenditures are appropriate and authorized by law, and spread the summary upon the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hinckley, second by Mr. Blackman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion to authorize adjustments to the water and sewer accounts.
Can we have some discussion on this? These are becoming more and more frequent on every agenda. Some are minimal, $30, $40, some are $400 or $500. I'd like to propose, that we put some kind of cap on this, if that's doable, Robert. I mean, we're giving away sometimes $700, $800 worth of water, or sewer charges. I'd like to have that as a discussion. I don't know what number to put on there, but I think we should cap this if possible.
Rob, just to think now, a lot of these water leaks have been caused by directional boring, and I don't think we need to cap that.
Well,
You gotta be careful with what you
I'm talking about, like, we got one on here that said, well, we just left it running because our plumber couldn't get to it today. Well, I mean, that's not an issue that I don't think we should be paying a lot on.
Well, if it was caused by directional boring, then whoever's doing the boring needs to pay it. We don't need to be paying it.
I think when the policy got adopted, I think there was something in there about you can't get more than one a year or two, Rob. I haven't read it lately, but I am going to speak to the staff because the system should be getting to where they should be able to see stuff like this. So that's concerning to me. Also, I just hadn't had a chance to say, why are we not seeing this? Why are we not seeing that there's a lot of flow?
Right.
And so I'm hopeful that's going to stop some
Well,
of
we
it.
were supposed to be setting some type of alerts on there
Correct.
to let somebody know, hey, there's
That's correct.
unusual usage
Yeah.
at this address. And
Yeah,
we need
they're
to check
still
it out.
having some issues, but yes, I intend to address with them, why are we not seeing that these are, really high? Why are we not seeing it before they're coming in? I would be a little leery of setting too much of a cap, because you're liable to get some elderly people in here that's going to be an extreme hardship for, especially up under the house.
Like I said, this is just for discussion. This was
Okay.
my thoughts from reading through
Yeah.
these, every agenda, and going, okay, when I see, we just kind of let it go because our plumber couldn't show up.
I
Call
will
another
take-
plumber or cut your water off.
I think everybody knows the standard is that the person gets the benefit of the service, but I don't see anything wrong with the city imposing some kind of due diligence on your customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you can do that on an individual basis. That's your right to make that decision.
I don't want to say I'm unsympathetic, but I guess I am for the most part. But when somebody flat out tells us, I just couldn't get a plumber, so I let it run.
Yeah, I know there's someone in there that just had pictures and they had actually called and they had asked about coming. And so I asked everyone in the audience and I said, if you come, when the mayor asked, do you have something on the agenda, you could get up and speak then, but I don't think they did come. There's somebody that didn't have paperwork, they had pictures. So, she had asked me about that. Did y'all notice that one?
Andrew Peters, OCCC camp, yeah.
Okay.
So in addition to determining why we're not seeing, I mean, you know, the 4467, the 6773, I don't know, that would probably slip under our radar because that's not a huge disparity.
Correct.
But the, you know, the 813, what was the one, 81312, I mean, I don't know what their previous bill was. But, I mean, that's a larger location, so that's probably pretty standard for them as well.
Yeah, I need to get back with them and see how that's coming along. And I know that when you set that parameters, I haven't watched it. They're still having problems getting the three systems to work together. But it was our hopes that we would get to a point where it would be able to identify after a day or so that someone's home or whatever was out of whack, and then we would try to contact them through email or get some door hangers and drop something off. That's where we need to be. Obviously, we're not there yet.
But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to setting some boundaries saying, you know, one per year up to X amount.
I think that's what's in there now.
Oh.
Well,
not up to X amount, that's not in there,
The
but
one-
the
the
once
one
a
per
year.
year.
One per year.
We just sometimes get elderly people in here and it gets really rough.
Yeah,
It should
but
be on
really
the
the only
website.
part that we can forego is the sewer portion of it anyway.
That is all we
Yeah,
do
you
for
can't.
you.
You're not able to just write off the water. If they let the water run, the water bill is gonna be there. You're just not gonna pay the sewer because it's running in the yard. So,
That's the theory.
But if we have an
I
elderly
understand
situation-
being aggravated with how many we get, but I think it's an individual basis, you know.
It's amazing to me that some people never go in their backyards. But we actually have people that you guys have had in here that had problems and they travel and on, they just don't even know it. I just hope the system's gonna help take care of it. Because then if we had dropped something off and put it on the doorknob, then they ignore it, then at least we have somewhere to say, well, we tried to contact you.
Have they set some sort of time frame as far as like a goal to have that in place, that
The goal is as soon as these three systems work together, there's three systems in water. And,
they haven't set any kind of
some of
timeline?
the, some of the problems a little bit now are we're painting the water towers, and Alan can tell you, they're having to remove some of the stuff at the top to paint and lowering it. And that's even making cell phones not connect as well and all, just so you all know.
Yeah.
There's some issues because we're also painting the water towers.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and just make a motion that we authorize the adjustment of the water and sewer account due to the finding that the customer did not receive the benefit of the utility.
Motion by Mr. Cox. Second. Second by Mr. Aldermen. Any more discussion?
We will work on it, Rob.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is general public comment. Anybody wanting to address the board on any topic may do so at this time. You have a 3-minute limit for each person, a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire comment section. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board?
I would. I just want to make sure we thank Macedonia Church today because we all had some great food. They fed all the public safety, and they fed all the city employees today, and it was really nice. And so I want to do a shout out to Macedonia.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Last time I made a comment, Bill Moore, for the library, and then we had a meeting with the library, and Yvonne said they have switched, and our library is first on the list to get repaired. Pasco was just not ready for it.
That's great.
So that was great. Whatever y'all did to get that happening, that's great. So thank you.
Thank you. Sometimes you just have to ask. Okay, next item on the agenda is Alderman's Forum. Ms. Burgess?
Yeah, so forgive me, this may not be the spot for me to do this, I'm not quite sure. Under code violations, Lakeview is not in Ward 1, but it's listed as.
I sent a list, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see where that was addressed. I was like,
New guy, and he figured out that the enforcement had to be done faster. There's more to it than what he realized, and much several areas.
Okay.
But he'll get straight.
Yeah, there were streets out of whack all up and down. I sent him a list of the ones I noticed.
Well, I just noticed that one in mine, so everything else is good. Alan, did you get a chance to look at the light in Bristol in the Fort White Estates entrance?
Yeah, it should be working.
Okay. Good.
Check it when you go home. If it's not.
I got to check it at night. I can't tell.
He went out there and worked on it yesterday.
The signs on the medians. We talked about.
The locate should be good tomorrow. They called it the locate. We had to call it the locate before we dig.
Oh.
And they called it in Monday. It should be good tomorrow.
Okay, we're just going to move them towards the sides where they can be seen a little bit better and people don't park on the medians. And you and I'll get together this Friday?
Friday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all.
I have one thing. I need the board to some help with this. You know, when we crafted the golf cart ordinance 5 years ago or so, it was intended to have golf carts in the downtown. And lately, I've been having an issue with people having off-road vehicles, like them recreational vehicles. And basically, they don't, by the specs of the units, they don't fit the ordinance. The ordinance says they can't go over 23 or 25. Can't go over 25, and this, you know, but the acceleration rate on them, even at governed, is still high, and it just doesn't look good for our downtown. And so, basically, I need the help from you guys. Is I'd like to make a motion that we allow the city attorney to amend our ordinance to remove the low speed vehicles off of our ordinance.
I'll second.
Remove the low speed.
You want to, Robert?
The statute is, the city ordinance is 2018-10, and the enabling legislation on this is a either or and or. We could have golf carts and or, they call them low-speed vehicles. And so, and then our ordinance is written that way, and I can tell you what if you want to amend that, the sections that we just need to remove the definitions and every mention of the term low-speed vehicle. That would be the amendment. And therefore, it would turn into the only thing allowed is a golf cart, and our ordinance defines what a golf cart is. So, but I was talking to the chief a minute ago, because Ricky and I talked about this earlier today, that if you decide to go in this direction, then we probably need to put something in there about those low-speed vehicles that you're talking about that now have a permit to be on our streets.
But really, they shouldn't, because by the specs of the units or the specs of the vehicles, they go up to 60 miles an hour. Some of them a little bit lower than that. But we can't. Our police department can't, police that, to pull somebody over and say, "Do you have yours governed down?" I mean, so I think if you read, of course, you can interpret the ordinance different ways, but I think that the way it's stated is that if a vehicle can go over that speed limit, then it's not considered a low speed vehicle. So I think moving forward, I have an issue with one this weekend, and I turned it over to the building department, and he doesn't want to give up his registration. But the bottom line is, I mean, our ordinance is posted. He came in and he registered for it, knowing that he registered for a vehicle that didn't fit that ordinance. So I think that that if we see them, we should be able to take them off the road.
You're right now, I guess there's two issues. One is those that we've already given the permit to be here, that we feel like now do not meet the criteria. And the second one is then the enforcement in the future of, does this particular vehicle or off-road vehicle, whatever it is, meet the criteria of our statute. So that's going to just going to make a discretionary determination by you as to whether or not it does. Or the third option is to remove that category of vehicles off the road, off our road. They're just not allowed.
If we could tell who they were, could we possibly write a letter, refund their money?
The problem is the person that I contacted swears that it only goes 23 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
So unless I test drive it, who am I to call him a liar?
Okay. I mean, I'd be willing to do refunds if that's what's necessary to,
But if you look up, that was a Mule 4000 EPS, and if you look up the specs online, it says that it can be governed down to 23, but it has I think it's a top speed of somewhere between 47 and 60.
46.
So,
So we're gonna do some sort of inspection to see and make sure at the time that they're getting registered that they're governed down?
no, we don't want them. That's the thing. We don't want those vehicles
So if it's not classed
on
as
the
a stop,
street.
And we wouldn't consider grandfathering.
I don't think so. I mean, our ordinance is set in place. I mean, it specifically says what it's for.
Is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible before someone is given a sticker, a registered sticker, to inspect that vehicle physically? If they've got the vehicle and they're riding it legally on the streets, they can drive to the city hall or to the planning office and get their sticker and
He would have
physically show it.
He would have to trailer it first because he wouldn't have the sticker until he got to City Hall. But
Well, like a car gets a license plate.
We can give them a grace period on
You
that.
got a grace period if they could show a bill of sale.
so what the girls did at Clemson City Hall, and I'm not sure that we really explained that to the young ladies out there. If we had any doubt, we asked for an officer to come by. We did ask them to come in and have an officer, because they can't go out to where the officers are. In Pascagoula, they actually have the police department do it, but it's just the different dynamics of the city. And now that doesn't work here, but we could do that. We
you
might
can
ask them
you
for-
can get a picture of it, but there again, if you're going to determine the speed of this thing, you're going to have to get in that sucker and ride.
I got you.
Or drive it, or
Well,
you'll
we
stand there and let
don't want
him.
those. We don't want
I
those.
mean, there's no way
I
to
think
determine the
what's better
speed.
you do is remove it from the ordinance.
Yeah.
And
If that's what
refund.
y'all want, if you want to take it out of there, then we just have to remove it from the ordinance.
That's what, so with the, so I'd like to make a motion that we allow, our city, attorney to amend that ordinance for our next meeting.
So exactly what vehicles does that take off? I mean, it'll take off the Polaris, the mules, but like,
Gators.
say like the Gator won't do the 25 miles an hour.
Some of them would.
Well,
That one I saw the other day, you had to have a step.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Hoffman. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so now we have a second by Mr. Impey. Is that correct?
You made a motion previously.
It was, he didn't actually make a comment.
Okay, so now we got a motion and a second. We can discuss it.
so I mean, as long as we get a definition of exactly what that consists of that we're taking off,
I haven't seen any of those.
Here's my only concern with taking the low-speed vehicle out is like the old gym car that we used to have. Some people had those.
That have
And those are
license
classified as low-speed vehicles.
But they have license plates.
Do they, all of them? Yes. Then those would be legal by state statute.
Because those will go 45 miles an hour. 40 miles an hour.
Just making sure.
I think you're
They're
just talking
street
about the
legal.
utility
They're
type
built for
vehicles.
street legal vehicles, which is
Yeah.
probably,
This wouldn't apply. I talked to Mark today about
Okay.
that. Those are separate. Those are regulated by the state.
Gotcha.
So it would not impact them at all.
it was never meant for those.
It never was. I mean,
It
and when you
wasn't.
go to Bay St. Louis and other cities, I mean, I don't see anybody riding around with those, and all of a sudden, I'm just, every weekend,
There's
being
also
downtown, they're popping
there's
up.
also a guy on a go-kart
A
running.
go-kart riding every down Government Street, yes.
okay. We have a motion, a second. Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
That's it.
Anything else?
That was it.
I think the motion was to tell me to prepare.
That 2010 hurdle, did you check it?
I didn't get over here this morning. I'll go there the first leg of the next time.
What's the update on that pitch?
Which one? The one on Wood?
Yeah.
They'll be there first of the week. They've been tied up with water leaks the past couple of days. Only had 2 today though.
Yeah,
Sounds
massive
good.
leak.
That's it.
On the cops. Alan, on Shearwater Bridge, I noticed we got one of our lights are gone. Did we take that down or did the storm take it?
The storm broke it off and it was hanging and I had Will take it down so it wasn't just sitting there blowing in the wind.
I'd like for us to go ahead and get some quotes on replacing those lights. They're yellowed and really only work part of the time. I don't know if, if we need those lights per se, but yeah, Shearwater
Bridge.
But if we use the same pedestals and just put another
fixture on top of it.
We got a bunch of public works. Yeah.
We got a bunch of street lights that come off government at Public Works.
And another thing, the speed limit sign on Shearwater is off.
Which
So
one?
Lit up.
The digital one?
Yeah, the digital one. But whoever's charging the battery is out.
I will go get it.
It was working yesterday morning.
Yeah, I just passed it this evening, it was off.
All right.
It'll last a few more days.
One more day.
Exceeding the speed limit, it wouldn't race.
No, I was going the opposite direction.
Were you going fast enough?
I was going the opposite direction. I started going that way, I was looking at my rear view going, how fast were they going? They didn't come on, but that's all I've got.
I got a list. Alan, I know you know about one sign at the Civic Center that somebody's hit.
Yeah.
Civic Center sign, we get that repaired. And just beyond that, there's a pedestal in the ground still where there used to be a sign for the memorial.
Yeah, it's
Did
a
we know what
state
happened to that?
sign. The state sign?
No, it was a Vietnam Memorial sign.
I know, but I think the state MDOT's the one that put it
Brown
up.
sign?
Yeah.
The brown sign?
Yeah.
I don't remember what color it
The-
was.
the
It's been
standard.
gone for a while, and I got asked about it.
It's the state does
There's
them.
one laying in the ditch over there.
We got
And
one in the ditch by
middle.
Raleigh Road.
That'll be an
State
MDOT.
sign too.
Okay, can y'all check with MDOT, see what happened to that sign, and if we can get it back?
Yeah, I'll call
Pedestal's
it
still in
more.
the ground, the bolt down pedestal, you know?
There's about 10 or 12 of them throughout Ocean Springs on highway that's
Yeah.
gone.
All right, let's check on that one. Gamble Place, where we had the water break the other day, I know I talked to the mayor, I just want to make sure before Halloween, we get that dressed up as well as we can.
Yeah.
Preferably get the sidewalk board
We'll
back.
get Tom on
and
it next
the
week.
Area resodded right there, and then at least the road dressed up, with a lot of kids in there on Halloween night. And any other trip hazards, I know the boring contractor hit a spark light line, and they've got it strung across the trees across the road, and it's just sitting there for somebody just to come by and pull off. So if we can get a contact with them and get them to come for that
Whose
in
is it?
somehow. I think it's spark lights line. Just checking, that's right there at the corner of Dijon and Bergerac.
It's almost like those guys don't even care what they hit anymore.
They don't.
It's like
They don't.
they just kind of like, hey, let's just do this, and then
Hey, we'll fix it, you know.
Dijon and what?
Bergerac. Two other things I've got, that got left off the agenda, for the police department, was a resignation of Warrants Officer William Martin, effective immediately. Make a motion, we accept the resignation of Warrants Officer William Martin, effective immediately, and allow us to begin filling the process of filling the vacancy.
Motion by Mr. Blackman, second by Mr. Cox. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. And the other is approve the promotion of Patrolman Chris Meadows to Sergeant, effective October 3rd.
Second that.
Motion by Mr. Blackman, second by Mr. Cox. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. That's all I have.
Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Impey?
Alan, what's the status of the ditch projects in Trentwood? Did y'all keep those off yet?
Carolyn, I talked to them last. I think they're out there getting ready. We got the lay down yard ready for them.
Okay.
But they hadn't showed up with any material yet. I don't know when we're supposed to receive material.
Their notice to proceed, I think, was actually yesterday.
The 18th, I think. Okay.
And
What
I-
about the in-house one?
Yeah, Stephen and them started on it last week, and they're gonna be back in there at the end of the week working on some more.
Good deal.
And they may not have gone out there because I did get from Will yesterday an agreement for them to sign, so I just haven't been able to get with them, but I'll do that in the morning. So that may be what they're waiting for as well.
Okay. And I've got one, I think it's Sparklight also, I'll get you I'll email you the address tomorrow. Similar to that one, extended cable service in Baywood, and the last house they have on the service was 3 houses down from this one, so they just tapped into the ground, ran under the driveways, and it's been there for about 3 months now, and they still haven't got that thing in the ground. It's ridiculous.
That's in several areas too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
They never come back and bury them. They just run them.
AT&T's have done the same thing in several
And if it's in a rear easement, they'll just hang it on the privacy fence and run it all the way around the
They
neighborhood.
need to start trenching these in, because some of them have been there for months.
yeah. That's all I got. Make a motion to go into closed session and the church.
One second. Alderman Cox reminded me of something. I don't know if you've noticed, but yesterday evening, Weaver is replacing lights on the Highway 90 bridge, the Biloxi Ocean Springs bridge, and I didn't realize there were so many lights underneath that bridge. I mean, but it's lit up like a Christmas tree down there, and actually, the lights are encased with a wire cover, so that's going to hopefully knock down any vandalism down there. And also, a special note to fishermen, there's a new light that's going to be on the poles, on the concrete columns, that's going to shed a bunch of light into that water, so I'm sure the trout will be coming to the surface there. But anyway, it looks good. Front beach looks good. I think the projected completion date is November on the bridge. Is that correct?
I think he said 129 days, 4 months
Oh.
to do the whole bridge. Yeah, that's how many
Both
days he
sides,
has.
right, both sides of the bridge and the middle.
So
And the
yeah,
bottoms. I
he's
mean,
going
everything.
he's going to start on the Ocean Springs side on the walking track side. So the walking track will be closed to pedestrian traffic.
Did
So
you say the first week in November?
yeah, I think that's what he said. So anyway, the time's going to change. There won't be any lights, but the beach is still open. The beach is lit up, so the people who like to walk the bridge can walk the beach and still get their exercise.
We got to put out a press release on that.
We will when we have more from him.
Yeah, there's just a note. We have been delegating information on the website, Facebook page, and Code Red, trying to keep up. Jennifer and Vicki are working on that for us, and just bear with us. Everybody's getting up to speed on taking care of that, and we'll get back to getting our information out to the public with those social media avenues. So, anyway, now motion to go into closed section to determine the necessity to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jiffy, second by Mr. Aldermen. All in favor?
Aye.
Board is in closed session.
Johnny's going to start freeze on Washington Avenue. He wanted to know if
Where do I park? Just tell her.
Go ahead.
So, like a lot of people call it rock. Take about 2 seconds.
I don't know.
Paris Ace Hilton.
Hey, well,
You called it, when he Paris Ace Hilton.
I called it.
Everybody else did.
We did.
Of course.
No, in case I don't.
Oh, yeah, it's on this line.
The water line.
I'll get you
I just
on
didn't
there.
announce it. It's full. I actually.
Just tell them to go back.
They had to change a
Like,
little.
yeah, we don't want a repeat of, I can't remember what contractor it was that broke it before.
But I made you see
Got all that.
and they haven't told me that they don't accept it.
What'd you do, Mrs.
What we're waiting.
Yeah.
It's all his fault.
You go look at that parking lot. I need to turn out here. I promise you. I don't know what else to do with it. We put,
I got an idea what we can do from now on. As soon as we pull on the residence, close it down. Because all that is sugar.
Where's that at?
What happened though?
What happens is when they drag the bags.
Yeah, I'm thinking what happened is they dump their grease in the bags.
Yeah.
The bags, the truck is trailing grease.
Yeah, that's what it is. And,
I put 10 gallons of deep grease on it, took that sweeper truck and let him run it down about 20
Cleaned it
minutes.
up.
Had the whole parking lot.
Is that what happened on Handshot too? Something is all over the side of Handshot.
Go have a garbage truck.
Yeah, come out the garbage truck. He did, he had a trail all the way down Highway 90.
And I didn't see it in time. I splattered the side of my car with it.
Oh, boy.
What was it, hydraulic fluid?
Something coming out of a garbage truck.
Just grease.
Okay, okay, great.
They blocking all the
Playground,
roads.
okay. So we did some work on it through the years.
We're gonna have 2 or 3 bucket trucks in
Okay.
there.
That's the only thing I could find.
They gonna do it during the day.
Stuff on
For
it.
the playground?
Whatever maybe.
Okay, great.
Maybe except the new.
I told about to tell you.
Yeah.
Where it was.
Yeah, we were working on that today with people.
Yeah, 'cause I found it, so the lady.
Eventually worked its way all the way to the railroad track.
She was trying to figure out how she could.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, cool. Okay.
She's at
At Fort Monmouth?
Yeah, to kind of cover the playground, to get that floor gets high.
I know, but we think
I like all
it's
those
a long
models.
way.
That she has a couple of options that it won't be like we can get kind of like the triangle looking ones, but they have a breakaway where we can pull it down.
So not one big one.
So anyway, I got
Obviously,
the
like,
house.
she said there's a chance
I
to burn it off and that.
I have a feeling I'm going
So I got it to the house, but we had it
She said we
already
could take
ready for me to just cook.
it could be
So I
taken down to
started
count.
Well, first time.
Like if you did, if
Go ahead,
that
Anyway,
aesthetic
I
of part of
think
it didn't matter, and you didn't.
So I got out there one day with
And the rest of the playground would stay the same, and then you could have
always
like what we had
stir
Alice
it
Street.
where everything.
And it was still a breakaway, so.
You can break away that big one?
She said they make quick breakaways. I don't know if ours has that. 'Cause it's older.
He had it turned.
Breakaway system.
Why he couldn't.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think they removed the little triangle ones that are out
So
there.
you got $1,000 green eggs?
How much
I
would
got it for 400.
She was telling us the price. I mean, some of the big ones are probably expensive.
you walk away from
There's different options. She's going to send us a couple.
That's like a lot of my guys in North Bend, then they all have.
The original schematics for it and stuff, so.
Rec text them. I just like
But
chocolate too
they
much.
have the MRPA.
I just like
Yeah, I do
chocolate.
too.
You know, I got a flat top. It's like a lot of
Oh,
$400.
okay.
Huge,
The special
brand.
event
I think they can push it back. This is the new
I'm
date.
just putting them on the margin.
But I just want to do burgers off of that.
Yeah, I like that too.
But the new bus drivers working with.
Oh, good.
He's on his own now.
Oh, my friend from the high school called that, huh? Yes?
Yeah, just for the camera.
Sorry.
Hold on. Motion made by Mike Hempy, seconded by Kevin Wade to stay in executive session to discuss personnel in the mayor's office, the police department, and personnel in the police department, potential litigation regarding loud and obnoxious behavior.
Uh-oh. Who has to stay?
Okay.
You do, he said loud and obnoxious.
Meaning the mic could hang a minute.
Nah, with me.
That would be
Rest of
specific.
you. No, I don't know.
We got 'em
You know,